Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Collin Schwartz. Thanks for being on the show, Collin.
Hey, thanks, Whitney. Super excited to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, glad to have you on. It's going to be a great conversation. I know you are deep into this business and have different means. You are avenues that you're an expert in, and I'm looking forward to this. But a little about Collin. He's a full-time real estate investor and owner of Bricktown Management, a property management company located in Omaha, Nebraska, where he just told me a little bit ago that it was -20 not too many days ago. So that's a whole nother level of cold right there, especially as a property manager. He has over $22 million in assets under management, also creator of the largest real estate meetup in Nebraska. His passion is working with fellow investors in value-add multifamily real estate. Collin, thank you again for your time and providing your expertise to the listeners and myself today. So, give us a little more about who you are and let's dive in.
Yeah, so kind of the mile-high view. Kind of like most people, I got out of college, I had my master's, got my MBA in business and finance, started working at a corporate career, started climbing the ladder, started getting promotions, found myself in a cubicle, as many individuals possibly listening to this right now find themselves and are kind of on that perpetual rat race in which you're slowly looking at your 401k grow and hoping for the day that you turn 65 in which you can actually utilize it, living for the weekends, etc. And as many other people, through a friend's recommendation, I picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And immediately, I think I felt really upset after I was about a third of the way through it. The fact that nobody had told me about this book before, or that this wasn't required reading. My mind was absolutely blown of the idea of passive income and utilizing leverage. It seemed so simple in the way that Robert Kiyosaki described it. And it just made no sense that somebody can spend 30 minutes on a class for that. So that was on January 1st, 2017, with New Year's resolutions and everything. It was very fitting. With a second child on the way at the time, I now have a third child on the way. I realized that I could not, rightfully so, spend my life the next 33, 34 years sitting in a cubicle working for somebody, living for the weekends, in which, honestly, I was mostly stressed out on Sunday, in which I would call Smonday, because you would actually feel Monday coming, the work, the dozens of meetings that I had. So I basically started digesting everything that I could. I got on Bigger Pockets through somebody's recommendation. I read probably 10 or 15 books within January, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, just to name a few, as well as all of Robert Kiyosaki's books. And I started applying everything that was in there. I quickly realized that I needed to network with individuals. I needed to understand what my finances were, and I needed to understand the lingo. In getting an education, going to meetups, etc. So what I did was I asked around for individuals that were involved in real estate that were smarter than me, which isn't very hard. And I wanted to connect myself with those individuals. They were the ones that were able to, help me get going. So I started those conversations. And April 24th, 2017, I was able to close my first threeplex with a partner. He helped guide me through the process. He had about 50 rental units at the time. He was doing property management on those properties as well. And he kind of guided my hand through the process. And within that, he said, you should probably manage it at least to get the experience under your belt. If you don't like it, I'll take it back over. We can go find a third party. But I think it's really important for you to understand the actual process of rehabbing, leasing, residents, and the overall mechanics of a building. And I'm truly thankful for that because, as you were stating before, I do have a property management company. We manage about 350 rentals. And I've really, really gone towards that. Many people shy away from the property management because it's hard. You don't want midnight calls. And I find that if you go towards those things that are really difficult, you can start adding a lot of value to many other individuals who may not want to do that, or that may not be their strength. Kind of during that period, I was going to different meetups, etc. And I really wanted to create another one. I couldn't stop thinking about real estate. So I basically created one. We had 10 members or 10 individuals at the first one. Next one was 30. We started it out of the first one was a 4-plex in which I was remodeling. The second meetup was a 3-plex in which my partner was remodeling. Now we have it at a local restaurant/bar, and we get attendance of about 80 to 100 individuals each month. So that's kind of me in a nutshell, and kind of the.
So you started the meetup right after closing on that first triplex?
It was around then. I would say it was probably a month or two later, but okay. I found that I wasn't getting as much as I wanted from the current meetup. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but I figured, one's good, two's better. So yeah, it was a couple months after, and more than anything, it was just like, hey, does anybody want to talk shop, have a beer, and talk real estate and see what we can do and figure out?
So I think it's interesting, and I think the listeners are thinking about this too. Like you found yourself sitting in a cubicle, which I can relate to as well. Like, okay, I cannot see doing this for the next 30 years. You read that purple book, and it's like your eyes were open to just the possibility, right? And just how many people have built wealth through real estate. I know, and I have a very similar story to that, but it was like, I didn't know this option was even out there, it was even something that I could do. So that's awesome to hear that. But, you did that, January 1st of 2017, and now, $22 million in assets under management, 350 units. I mean, you haven't been letting the grass grow under your feet. That's for sure. So I'm, I want to hear this story a little bit. So, you moved fast, right? I mean, it's just now the beginning of 2020. So, you have moved fast in that short amount of time. But, I bet starting that meetup has been instrumental in that growth, but I'm looking forward to hearing about that, because your network is so important. And what I see too, that it's so neat that you learned that or realized that very early on. You mentioned, I want to go rub elbows with those that are way ahead of me. I want to go talk to those people. I want, and I found just in my career, I mean, over and over and over again, it's like, it's trying to add value to people and also surrounding yourself with people that are way ahead of you. And it's just amazing what happens, in those groups. But tell me a little bit about, your group that you started and how that has helped with your this fast growth.
Yeah, absolutely, Whitney. And I think something important for anybody that's looking to start a group, don't overthink it. Just do it. There's a lot of people that are interested in real estate and building wealth. Just do it. Done is better than perfect every single time. My wife may disagree with that when I'm doing laundry or doing the dishes, but in real estate, done is better than perfect a lot of the time. It has been absolutely instrumental. I focus it around, kind of a casual environment. We bring in a speaker once a month. They speak for about an hour. Sometimes we do panels. But being able to host and facilitate that really does put myself in a light in which individuals think of you as a thought leader. Although I am very much self-admittedly, I do not know everything. I admittedly don't know anything about a lot of things. So I think surrounding yourself with those individuals and creating that group, you begin to find multiple facets of people that will help accelerate your education, your overall understanding exponentially. We have a tendency to get siloed in our thinking, where we read a book, we're like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and I know everything. You can have one conversation with one person that can absolutely change your overall mindset. So it's the meetup group has been 100% just everything with that. I've found so many deals through that. It's really true. The first deal is the hardest. You are hunting for it. Brokers don't give you any respect, and rightfully so, because there's a lot of people trying to get into it that flake out very, very, very quickly. But once you start a meetup group or get involved, you can find numerous partnerships. And as many of my deals have been all throughout the past year and a half or 2 years, individuals have brought them to me, because of my expertise. I'm using air quotes in management. It's an uphill battle every day.
Tell us about those strategic partnerships that's been created. possibly from the meetup or not, but tell us, about, how those partnerships have come about.
Yeah. So lots of them I found through Bigger Pockets as well. So it's kind of been a mesh in between Bigger Pockets and the meetup.
Give us a tip though about how you found them on Bigger Pockets. What were you doing on BP to make
So I wrote a post. This was after I hit 25 rental units. I did the clickbaity title of 0 to 25 units in 4 months, and it got a lot of traction. I tried to provide a lot of good content in there, and numerous people reached out to me. So I was having a really rough day at my 9 to 5, and I was like, you know what? I need to celebrate the successes that I'm doing in my what at the time was a side hustle, my investment, and I just documented everything and I posted it there. And sure enough, a lot of people found value from it. So I think documenting is very important, and putting yourself out there, just as you are with this podcast. You need to get over the thing that people are going to think of you weird for doing that, or getting the icky feeling of
That's hard at first.
Very, very hard. It is incredibly hard, and people are going to look down on you for it. Some of them, but the people who are going to get value out of it are the people that you want to associate with.
Mm-hmm. I like that. No, that's awesome. I just wondered, so ultimately you're documenting what you're learning, how you were getting where you're going, at the time, and putting that on Bigger Pockets, and people are connecting with you because ultimately they want to be where you're at, or they're having the same issues or problems that you have overcome now, and they can relate. So that's awesome. So go back to the strategic partnerships and how, what is that and what has that been to you?
Yeah. So I do have multiple partners, but I guess I can focus on my main business partner, Chris Pomerleau. Him and I own probably 250 of those rentals together, and we have about another 100 under contract currently. So I was just listening to one of your most recent podcasts with Reed Guzman, and the fact that it's good to have similar interests, but you need to have different strengths. I am the person with 30,000 unread emails. He has 0 unread emails. I handle operations. He is the one that's juggling all the balls. He's talking to the insurance companies. He's talking to the financiers, all the different lenders. He is sending out information to all the different investors, et cetera. So it's really finding somebody that maybe has the same vision as you. You want to be on the same path, but having different complementary skills is incredibly important. So I think that's where him and I really connected. Some of the other partnerships have, individuals have brought really good deals. One of my most recent projects, younger gentleman, brought me 10 rental units. We partnered on. He knew I could do the operations. Well, he has a successful wholesale business. We bought him at basically 50% of ARV because he sees the value in it. I see the value in partnering with him as well. So it's really finding individuals that, as I said, on the same path, but different skill sets.
Yes, very important. That was a good show. I enjoyed that as well with Reed and talking about that. And it sounds like you related to that. And my business partner and I the same way. We have complementary skills where we can go so much further. Together, right? I can't remember that saying, but go. What is it? If you go by yourself, you don't go very far ultimately, but together you go so much further. I can't remember how. It was a nice little way to say it, but yeah, it's. What's that?
I said that was a beautiful way to say it.
Thank you. But it's so true. It's so true. And I've experienced it firsthand myself. And so it's neat to hear, your story and how you all partnered and even partnering with other people now as well, because you can see the value in that and the skill sets that they have. And so, tell us about maybe a recent deal that you closed, and let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's been a couple that we've closed recently, but one of them the first one of 2020, I guess, is top of mind. So I'll discuss that one. This is the younger gentleman, the wholesaler. We've partnered on a couple projects before, but he brought me these multifamily deals, a 4-unit and a 6-unit property. And quickly realized that we were going to be able to get it at a steep discount. So I utilized my lenders, I guess, kind of sent it out to a couple lenders. And then I asked a couple questions. Hey, since these are purchased at such a steep discount, maybe this one that's the 4-unit, could we separate the loans was the first question. The second one, the 4-unit was, hey, can we fund the rehab out of pocket, but can we purchase it for 0% down? Well, the answer was yes to that. Okay, so we don't need to bring money for that one. Then the 6-unit was, hey, we're going to need some construction funds. We need new windows. 3 of the units need full rehabs. we're going to need about $90,000 to fix this one up. And purchase price was $222,000. Well, the appraisal came back at $426,000. So the total amount that was needed for funding was about $315,000. So leaving us at 74% loan to value of the after repair value. And the bank was okay with that, with us not bringing any funds down for that project either. And kind of more uniquely, something to not forget is we collected the security deposits and the prorated rent. So we actually received a check at closing, purchased 10 units, and got a $90,000 construction line of credit on it. So
Wow.
It was a good way to start off 2020. I know lots of the listeners are probably looking at, hey, how do I become a GP on a 150 unit project and get 5 or 10% of that GP? Well, me and my partner own 100% of a 10 unit. I am looking at larger projects. I also own an 87 unit, but I think it's also important to look at the wins. As long as it fits your model of investing, which it does for mine. It's local, it's value add real estate, it's multifamily. And similar to syndications, bringing low or no money down as the general partner.
You call this guy the younger, this younger fellow, but he added a lot of value here, right? And he knew you could add value to him and really get this closed. But I wonder, what was the stipulation, that the bank would have, for this type of deal? I mean, I understand the loan to value and why they thought, okay, we can still finance that 100%. However, I'm sure they put a lot of weight on maybe your experience or somebody's experience to actually make this happen.
Yeah, I would say that without diving into their boardroom meetings, et cetera, it's got to be relationships. Done some successful projects with them before. They've seen how those have turned out. I'm very comprehensive when I send a lender what the construction is going to look like, what the projects look like. Also, what I'm sending to the lender, I'm also sending to the appraiser. I think lots of individuals just assume, hey, here's the project. All right, bank, you go do your work. Appraiser, you go do your work. I'm done. I'm focusing on the real estate. You focus on your appraisal. You focus on the money. And although that works, you're probably not going to optimize anybody's situation. So if you can hand all the data over to the lender, to the appraiser, you can really start, as I said, optimizing your situation. So I would hope that it's, the experience and the information that I provided to those parties that made them comfortable doing a project like this.
So where did you meet the younger guy?
Bigger pockets as well. So
okay.
kind of funny. He always says, so I'm 35 now, he's 24. So this was 2 years ago. And as you probably get a lot, people reach out, how do I invest in real estate? That's cool. And after a while, it becomes overwhelming to answer those questions. Well, on the fourth time, I finally responded, not trying to ignore, just, got busy, kids, was working a full-time job, et cetera. And we just started hanging out. We really started hitting it off. He, as any 22-year-old at the time, or 23, you don't have a lot of money. So he started, looking at wholesaling. He was self-educating. He read, tons of books. He's constantly self-educating. So I saw something in him, and he probably saw it in me too, that we were both kind of on the same path.
Was he local to you?
Local, yep. So all the partners are local in the Omaha area, but yeah, he just was hustling, and he brought me some previous projects in which we partnered on, which also had incredible deals at 50% discounts. So he's very, very good at marketing, and he's becoming more and more involved. His name's Logan Fast, and he's been able to, help with the intricacies that maybe I'm having less time for. He got the property under contract. He understands how to write up contracts. He now understands the negotiation process, and he's really good at that. So that is the value that he added. So, wow. A tremendous amount of value.
You mentioned also that you were working full-time while doing all this. Is that right?
Yes.
So tell me, a little about that, because I tell people about doing a daily podcast. They can't believe that we can even do a daily podcast. And then I say, well, I've been working full time the whole time, I've been doing this and doing deals. And, they just cannot get over that, however, I would love to hear, how have you been that productive while working full time and making these deals happen?
Yep. So I was able to leave my job in February of 2018. But
a year after you read that book.
A year after I read that book. Now, I was not rolling in the money by any means. I had some savings, and I basically said, I'm going to burn the ships, and somebody will hire me back if I screw this up, but now's the time. Full focused. I'm going to do it. Screw it. It was basically the conversation. My wife gave me the go ahead, was the really, she was super supportive and still is. But that first year it takes immense focus and sacrifice. And when I mean sacrifice, this is kind of hard to say, but it was like the first year of my daughter's life, and I was not around much at all. And the thought was in my head that, okay, I'm going to miss out a lot on the first year. My wife, who was also working full time, taking care of both kids, under 2 or 3 at the time, that this sacrifice is going to pay off. But if I'm going to do it, I can't half-ass it, basically. I have to go all in. That means not hanging out with friends, not going to the bar after work, not going to work lunches that don't provide value on real estate. That means I am listening to podcasts and books and nothing else. Music does not fit into this scenario. I am reading every night and not watching Netflix. I am devoting all of my drive time to either podcasts or making phone calls. It is being very, very, very sensitive to your time and being very, very focused. It was incredibly hard. Every day, 16 hours a day. And I would say I still work quite a bit. It's just a little bit different because now I have, people to help out. I'm not taking resident phone calls anymore, but it was, writing leases, writing purchase agreements, reaching out to sellers, doing off market, writing letters to potential sellers. It was everything. And it's a lot of sacrifice.
I can relate to you so much. It's amazing. All the things you just said. Yeah, I think a lot of listeners, a lot of times people that are getting in the real estate business or starting a business, just they don't understand the sacrifice that they're going to have to make to really be successful in getting started. I mean, the first year or two is the hardest, no doubt about it.
I think many get into this, and honestly, initially I thought this too. Hey, I'm going to own 25 rentals. I'm going to cash flow $200 a month off those rentals. I'm going to make $5,000 a month passively. I'm going to sit on my couch. I'm going to replace most of my previous income. Life's going to be good. I haven't found it to work that way. Maybe some individuals do, but it is a lot of work. It is, a slow process to build long-term wealth. And to be able to quit my job, I had to create a business out of this. I had to create the property management company so that I could fund another source of income. So it is not for me, currently, it is not a passive sport at all. And I think a lot of individuals on the beginning are so frustrated with their jobs and are so lacking content from what they are doing that they are just like, I need a break. This seems like it. I would love to sit on the couch and collect checks. What turns out, or at least for lots of investors, is that you end up loving this and that you end up working more, but you actually find a passion. But it's a lot of work regardless.
And Collin, are you moving into you said you're moving into larger deals as well, or you're doing some of both still? Tell me about your progress into larger deals. I know you have quite a few units under contract right now as well.
Yeah. So last year we were able to close on an 87 unit apartment complex. So we used agency debt on that. So Freddie Mac, non-recourse, 2 years interest only on the front end. We're going through value add, increasing all the rents with the goal of refinancing on the back end and also getting another 3 years interest only. We just purchased a 48 unit and a 23 unit. We kind of pooled those together. And currently I have 24 townhomes under contract, kind of class B, B plus. Really good area that we're purchasing through a commercial lender, getting a construction loan with the intent of refinancing on the back end with a Freddie Mac, CBRE lender for long-term non-recourse debt, pulling out all of our cash. And then we also have 54 units down in Kansas City under contract as well, which we're going to pursue agency debt on.
So you're syndicating.
Yes, absolutely.
So where are you raising the capital from?
Maybe you at some point. No, it's really from the network. It really started with, some bigger pockets and just reaching out. Not not really, I guess, the typical friends and family, but other individuals that are, looking to partner, looking to get into this.
That's what I was looking for is your network again,
Absolutely.
Going back to your network. So what about from the meetup, right? How much are you raising any capital from people you've met through the meetup?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Our last deal raised over $500,000 in the past couple months from just the meetup alone.
From just the meetup. I'm just trying to stress
just the meetup. And that doesn't include deals that have been brought to me. And I'm just thinking of a couple investors. I'm sure I'm missing some more. And I have lots of other investors that are looking to deploy more capital.
Yes.
So yes, it's putting yourself out there. There's plenty of people out there with money, but they're looking for somebody that has, some institutional knowledge, that's willing to roll up their sleeves and do the work.
Yes.
Lots of them are doctors, attorneys, etc., that are sophisticated, but they are not going to become full-time real estate investors, but they have a high income that they need to find the write-offs, and they need to deploy their capital and get some decent returns. So yes, from the meetup, from, being on podcasts, etc., but the meetup has been absolutely beneficial.
Okay, so we're about out of time, Collin. So just a few quick questions before we have to go. But what's been the hardest part of this syndication journey for you?
Oh boy, it's everything is exponential in this business. You think that going from one resident to 100 residents is, linear, but gosh, the paperwork and keeping all the balls in the air and everything moving forward. You just have to become more sophisticated. You have to outsource more and more things because time becomes more and more precious. I know this isn't directly, looking at like going through a syndicated deal, but, I've hired a company to be my CFO to handle my books, which I was doing at first. I've hired some interns to do the running around. There is just so many pieces, and staying on top of that it is a constant journey every day of improving that process. I don't know if you've ever read the book Traction, but I would love to get to that state, but it's a journey there.
For sure. Tell me, how are you prepared for this potential downturn that everybody's talking about? Yeah,
so I think when I got into this in 2017, the same conversation was occurring. Hey, it's risky. We're at the top of the market, et cetera. I don't have a crystal ball, and I probably don't have any great answers, but the property management and being able to control expenses internally and not entrusting somebody else to do that and building systems around that provides a bit of a buffer in which, if we need to be lean, we can go lean pretty quickly. So I would say controlling the assets and being very hands-on, obviously purchasing, at steep discounts, et cetera, getting into longer term debt, non-recourse, kind of all the typical answers. But I think, really controlling the ship is what helps me sleep at night, although it keeps me up at night too, but either one.
So what's something that you've done recently to improve your business that we could apply to ours?
Yeah, so I hired basically a consulting company to come in, be a CFO, do my books. And they have individuals there that can help with paperwork, paying bills, and just random tasks for my business. They also happen to they run a property management company as well as multiple other things. So they're very familiar. So just getting that headache out of there and knowing that my financials are in really good shape and that when I pull reports, they're accurate.
So you said a consulting company, or are they like a bookkeeper? I mean, or are they doing more than that?
They are definitely a hybrid. They are doing more than that because, as I said, they're also investors as well, right. And own a property management company. So it's kind of difficult to describe, but we can dive into different conversations together, from maintenance to leasing structures to pricing to just numerous different systems that they've already implemented that they provide feedback on, but also take care of the books as well.
What's a way that you stand out with your investors that makes them want to come back to the next deal?
Well, so far, I mean, once again, it's been an up market, so don't want to jinx it, but, been able to deliver on what the projections have been and oftentimes exceeding them. I've got a high level of energy. I live and breathe this stuff. So this is not just a job for me. This is an absolute passion. So I think I would assume that would be the reason.
And what's a way, or the number one, let's say, what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think initially it was just self-educating, reflecting, and being humble in the initial stages, and always constantly admitting that I don't know everything. As I said, there's some things I know nothing about, and asking questions, surrounding yourself with smarter people, and just networking. You're going to gain something from almost everybody. So do that. Don't silo yourself.
What's your best advice for somebody who's becoming or wanting to become an operator, a syndicator?
So it depends on where you are. If you have never done a project before, go on and be maybe a limited partner or go purchase a duplex. Just understand the fundamentals of real estate. Read a lot. Listen to a lot of podcasts. Individuals, when they first are looking to invest and they reach out to me, I always have them read a few books. That's kind of just like, okay, get the basics and then we can go from there, because it'll start being kind of serendipitous where people will come to you with capital once you've hit that certain phase. But I think you need to risk it on your own at first, or at least, put some skin out there before you're saying, hey, I found this project, give me $5 million and I'm going to keep 30% of it.
What about your best advice for limited partners who are maybe just getting started investing in through a syndication in real estate?
Yeah, try to stay active with the general partner. Try to tag along, learn as much as you can. I mean, ask a lot of questions, because your questions, although you may think are uneducated, or that somebody else will be like, oh, of course you should know that, the general partner may not have thought of that. So just go through and ask questions about everything. Look at the offering memorandum and go through and ask questions.
Yeah, the worst questions are the ones we don't ask, right?
Absolutely.
So what's a way you give back, or a way you like to give back? So
the meetup group is one big way. I try to take some time and speak with individuals and kind of help them through the process of becoming an investor, et cetera. Another one, which was really cool, in December, we did a little fundraiser. It's called the Micah House, for, it's battered women and children. So we raised a couple $1,000 for that. So would really like to, we don't charge for the meetup, so would really like to use that power for good, and do more of that. So haven't pursued it as much as I would like to yet, but that's kind of the focus, is, to be able to give back and improve the community.
Nice. Well, thank you for sharing that, Collin. I'm grateful for your time today and sharing just your story, your path to getting where you're at now, and not sugarcoating it either. You're telling us, 16 hours a day and, 30,000 unread emails. It's a real struggle, getting a business started like this, and you've done it though, and you're pushing through, and congratulations to you. As writing the dates down of, you found yourself in a cubicle, and, how quickly these things happen, and, not just everybody can make that happen that fast. And so congratulations to you and to your success, and tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah. So reach out to me on Bigger Pockets. Facebook's a good one. I'm a little bit more active on there. I like to reach out to investors on there. I'm on Instagram. It's Collin C. Schwartz. I'm not very active on there. Send me some messages. I'm always looking for to jump on a phone call. If you are in Omaha, Nebraska, definitely hit me up. Would love to get together, beer, coffee, etc. And come to the meetup. It's every third Wednesday of the month. So I'm always happy to have discussions with other investors.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.